Let's do a greenhouse update. Are you ready for the magic of opening the door? I am. We got a redneck handle. Ba, ba. Oh, I can't sing very high. Look at all these babies. Oh, yeah. You can't be in here, buddy. Naturally, the door doesn't stay closed, so I like to be innovative. Okay, do you remember that one big flower that sprouted with a bunch of little bitty flowers on accident? Remember how big that gorgeous girl was? Oh, yeah. So this is a vine. I've not grown this before. It's called a hyacinth vine, Ruby Moon. And it is a great pollinator, it says, and it's going to be really pretty. And because I have so much space out here that I have room for big vines, this will be perfect. And she looks very healthy. I don't know if you could tell, but she's got purple stems. Just gorgeous. Next up, these are my sweet peas, okay? And so sweet pea, I don't know if you remember this, but Bath and Body Works used to have a flavor or a scent of sweet pea because they smell so well. They smell so pretty. So I am going to dabble at making my own perfume. So I'm using the sweet peas, and they are also like a vine. Well, they're a pea, so they like to trellis and climb. And the one thing about them is they do not like super hot sun. So you do have to start them early. And then I'm going to plant them in a place to where they'll get full sun. But as the day goes on, it gets really, really hot. It starts to shade. In addition to the sweet peas, I'm also growing freesia, okay? Which I feel like Bath & Body Works had a freesia as well. Now, I am a little bit nervous because, look, this one does not look good. And I don't know what happened. So I've got to kind of study that. And stupidly, because I was so excited, this is a small pot, essentially. I put a freaking gladiola in the middle of it. I don't know what else to do. There's too much in this. But anyway, I'm probably going to pull this guy out because of how it looks. Because once it gets like this, I don't know. I feel like it, I don't know. To be continued. I feel like there was a third perfume or something that I was going to do, but I can't remember what it is. So because I also have a big shade garden, I accidentally planted a butt ton of coleus because I thought it was black-eyed Susan vine. But that's fine. I'm glad that I have all this because I'm going to use it in my shade garden and my new little prayer garden that I'm doing. It's really pretty, coleus is. It's just a leaf. It does not flower. But the leaves, as you can see, they're very pretty. I've got this one, and then I've got one that's going to be more of like there'll be pink and purple, and then I have one that'll have more like yellows and greens. Look at this girl, sweetie. This is it's a zinnia, and it's Benary's Giant Scarlet. So it'll be really red and gorgeous. And look, she's already got two little side flowers. She's getting more flowers. Ideally, I could pinch right here, and then she'll be like, "Oh, honey, you must need more of me." And then she'll wah, real big. But I don't know. I usually wait until the first flower before I start doing that. But I have a ton of zinnias. Oh my golly gee willikers, look at this one. She's tall, honey. So I got some bug bites going on, okay, with the zinnias, but that's okay. They're not diseased. Bugs got to eat too, and I'm not real mad about it. More zinnias up there. More little bug bites, little boogers. Let's just start getting into these vines. I love vines and trellises, or flowers that trellis. So these are morning glories. Oh no, morning glories, wild, out there. Farmers don't like them because they'll smother the crops. I get it. But these are a flower, and oh, it's a cat. And I specifically, this isn't the one that kills all your crops, but it's a vine, and it could potentially do that. But I grow mine up the fence at the garden. Actually, I'm going to show you. So see, our vegetable garden is fenced in, and you can actually tell where other things have vined up it from last year, okay? In fact, that could have been, I don't know what that was, But we do have the wild morning glories out here as well. So I'm going to actually plant a lot more vines this year for that fence. And then also my flower garden over here, okay, I like to trellis things up it as well. And then my windmill broke, but I actually still use the base as something that I can trellis up. And then, well, screw it. I have a bunch of donations in front of the garage and it looks like crap and I'm embarrassed about it, but that's life. I've got those posts there at the front that I can grow other trellises up. Naturally, everybody's curious out here. I want to go back to zinnias and talk about them for a minute because they are such a fun flower to grow, okay? But one thing about them is that they disease. They get the powdery mildew. What else? Mainly like powdery mildew, I think. But I'm sure there's probably others. So I have read that they need better like aeration or whatever. If you plant them too close together, then they'll just pass that on to one another, and then boom, your whole zinnia, they'll get the powdery mildew. And listen, it just happens. It happens every year. I try to pull the leaves off, or I'll pull up a plant if it looks really bad. But sometimes I just leave it alone because it's just inevitable. And I still get flowers. And it doesn't happen in the very beginning, but towards the end, they just kind of, they're like, we're just done for, I guess. I don't know. But they last a long time. But they do get disease. These are a fun one. So these here, these are gourds and they're loofahs. And they're very a beautiful green plant. So feel like your gourds and your melons, they're hungry because they produce such big fruit, so they need more fertilizer. They also like really hot sun, which is why like the gourds and stuff, they're in that big heat of the summer, and then come fall, you've got your gourds. And same with your melons. So they have to have a lot of sun and a lot of room, and they trellis, they grow, they vine. Some people will vine them on the ground. I vine mine in my little gourd arch, and they're fun, but they also can disease. Actually, I think the other year I thought they were diseased, but I think that they were just lacking nutrients. So like I said, they're heavy feeders because they're hungry because of the big crop that they produce. But the loofah gourds are so cool because you have to pick it when it's still on the vine, and then you pull the skin off, and then actually I have one. Hold on. Okay, so these are a couple of years old. They don't look good naturally because they're a couple years old. So they have this like skin on them, okay, and it would be green. It would be a dark green, and you peel the skin off, and then this is what's left. This is like that loofah thing I was telling you about, okay? But these have had like mold and stuff on them. However, okay, if you own animals, like dogs inside your house, this is what I've done with the ones that were kind of like gross. They weren't this gross naturally. And so this is like peeling off because it's not good. When they're in good condition, they don't peel off and they don't shred. So when you're like cleaning with them or whatever, you're not going to have all these little particles. They're actually really hard to cut pieces off. But that's what I would do. We had a puppy or something and they pooped all over the floor. It was gross. And I don't want to use like a clean sponge or a brush or scrub brush or whatever because it's got poop on it. These are perfect. I cut a piece off, I scrubbed with it, and I just pitched it. And one loofah plant will give you several loofah gourds. So they're so cool. And there's some kind of process, I think, that you could like either bleach them or whatever. See, they just kind of peel off. And the healthy part is supposed to be white of the loofah. But some people will use them like in the shower and stuff. I just haven't learned that much about them. Oh my gosh, I got all these seeds. I could plant these seeds, okay? And then another gourd that I thought was kind of fun to grow for looks is the snake gourd. And this is actually a shorter one, okay? The only thing is I don't really know what you can do with them. Listen, there's all those seeds in there. I feel like they might be cool to like, there's got to be something cool to do with these because they're pretty hard once they are off the vine and they like, not cure, but they harden. I don't freaking know. They're kind of cool. And they're super cool, like hanging down in the gourd tunnel. Look it up, snake gourd tunnel, and you'll see all these cool pictures. And then my other favorite gourd to do is the Martin birdhouse gourd. So what you do is all these different birds, they have like different diameter size hole that they prefer to, like if a hole is too big, a certain bird is not going to put a nest in there. So the hole has to be just right. Anyway, you put a hole here, you drill a hole down here for drainage. And after you drill that hole, you got to scrape the stuff off. And then you drill 2 holes here, and then you can just hang it. And I stained mine, like with wood stain. They're actually really cute. And then on the top here, my little thing that you hook it on, like if it was like an ornament. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I did mine with really pretty beads. And it was just so cute. And they made the best little Christmas present. And one gourd plant could give you up to like 10 of the Martin birdhouse gourds. But also, it's not just for the Martin birds. There's other birds that will nest in there. Check out this big girl, honey. This is a dahlia, okay? And so last year I spent a lot of money on my dahlias. They come in, those were one of those bulbs, well, they're tubers that I planted. Actually, I planted one of those like that day I did that video. So the reason why I started those in pots is because my property is so flat out here and it gets so wet. And last year I put them directly in the ground. We had a whole bunch of rain and all my dahlia tubers just rotted. So this year I started them all like this so that when I get them in the ground, they will be an established plant. And when I plant them, I will make sure that I'm planting them somewhere where all of the water, when it rains, isn't going to settle there. So I'll probably like raise them up even a little bit so that the water will drain elsewhere into the garden. Also, dahlias are absolutely stunning. They're beautiful. And they have been, to me at least, disease and pest resistant. So I feel like sometimes if you had, okay, so like zinnias get disease and dahlias don't. So if you kind of plant them together, I feel like the dahlias kind of help prevent the spread of disease to your zinnias. I love disease and pest resistant flowers and plants because they just kind of help keep the garden homeostasis-ish, whatever. I can't think of the word. I'm ready to talk about tomatoes. Look at this beauty. Look at how thick that stem is, okay? And it's because, so I potted these on that video. You saw how small they were. Like, all of this was stem, and now it's all roots, okay? And this is a great example. So if this were in the ground right now, these would disease. They would blight or something because their tomatoes do not like their leaves. They don't touch the ground. So I already am just going to go ahead and pinch these bad boys off because they're not going to grow. Or they're not going to grow because I'm going to pinch them off when I get them in the garden anyway. I don't want them to touch the ground. This would touch the ground. I'm not going to pull that big one off yet. Okay, another thing about tomatoes. They can be humongously big and bushy. And one thing that you'll do is you have to get the suckers off. This sucker would get humongous. And typically, suckers on tomato plants, they don't really produce tomatoes. They can, but if you pick those suckers off, it encourages more growth. And the sucker always grows in, the sucker always grows in between 2 branches, okay? And they start off that small. Well, a couple of years ago, my dad had some humongous suckers. I pinched them off. I stuck them in soil. They looked sad as heck for a little while, and then boom, I gave them to my girlfriend, and they produced so many tomatoes. So if you don't have a lot of tomato plants, you can take your suckers. I would wait for them to get like decently established. I'll try and find a bigger sucker for you. And then put it in the ground, not in the ground, put it in a pot with soil and care for it. By care for it, I mean like you can't just take a sucker and then just put it in the ground and forget about it because the sucker has to root and it's just a little bit delicate for a while. But if you just watch it and you water it and you are patient, it will grow into a plant and it'll root, and then you can put it in the ground. Another way you can tell if your tomato plant needs water, obviously, you can look at the top, okay, and it's, I just can tell because it's dry, but it's light. It needs water. Another way you can tell is by the leaves. You can't really tell right now on this one because it's been watered recently and it's not that thirsty, but start paying attention and you will know just by looking at your plant when it needs water. Okay, so this is odd. I'm pretty sure this is a sucker. Normally the sucker would grow through right here, but it came down here. Okay, again, go touch that ground, sweetie. You gotta go. Thank you for your service. Here's a better one. It's starting to get big. This thing will get humongous if I don't pick it. And you get them suckers out there, honey. I'm going to talk to you about some varieties of tomatoes that I've grown and have loved. My favorite tomato by taste, and I have not canned. So the tomatoes that I grow, I eat. Like sliced on things, chopped up, whatever. So I'm talking about like flavor and slicing tomatoes. My favorite one is Cherokee Purple. It's like a deeper color. I mean, Cherokee Purple, but it's not purple, but it is a deeper color and it is rich with flavor. And it does not have a big like spine in the middle. You know, when you cut a tomato and there's that big like yellowy piece, it does not have that. And they produce pretty well. I just love the flavor. I've also planted my favorite cherry tomato is the Sun Golds. And my dad, who is like a tomato connoisseur or knower of all things, that became like one of his favorite tomatoes. So they're good. And they're gold. And they're little. And by golly gee willikers, they are prolific, honey. They will produce a bunch of tomatoes. And you just eat them right in the garden. Brandywine is another one that is really good, the flavor. And I've also planted, I have regular brandywine, black brandywine, and yellow brandywine, and they're all good. The other ones that I'm doing, I've got Chef's Choice, I have a beefsteak, a mortgage lifter, and those are going to be all new this year, but I read the reviews on them. And I feel like one of them was disease resistant, but they're all like a good beefy, tasty tomato, honey. Next up we have pepper plants. And this is one of the jalapenos that I planted a little bit later than some of my other peppers because I didn't have any seeds. Hang on, let me find one. Okay, so here's one of the ones that I planted. I planted the same time that I planted these tomatoes. Okay, so that's like the difference in the growth. Peppers take a little while to grow, and they also like that hot sun. And a lot of people will like to top their peppers, like pinch right here, okay? But I don't know, and I've done that before. I don't really feel like I noticed a difference, but I did not study it that much and really compare and take notes. So the peppers that I planted, this is a pepperoncini Italian. I have not had those yet, but what I have had and had really great luck with is my jalapeno peppers. They are pretty prolific. They produce a lot, and the flavor's really good. And I make jalapeno poppers with them, cut them up, put them in all different kinds of things. And then my favorite pepper, so a lot of people want to plant bell peppers, sweet bell peppers, whatever. And I like that, but I just feel like my sweet bell peppers in the garden are not that good, and they're kind of thin. I am still learning, and I'm not that great with peppers, but one pepper plant that I have grown that has done really well is Marconi Red, and they're long peppers. You can pick them when they're green, that's fine, or you can wait for them to turn until they're red, but they taste like a good sweet bell pepper. The flavor is really good. The plant grows really well. The texture of it and like the thickness of the pepper, they have been a favorite. I've showed other people the Marconi pepper. They love it. It's not hot. It's not spicy. And it is good in all different kinds of things. So Marconi pepper is my favorite right now, and the jalapeno pepper. And I've also grown... I I can't think of anything else, but those two peppers are really the only ones that stick out to me and that I like. So another thing with hot things that you grow is you have to be careful with them because they could cross-pollinate. So I'm going to kind of explain it in a way that I think is true and makes sense. So let's say I have a hot pepper here and a not so hot pepper here. And a bee comes on this one and gets some pollen or whatever, and then comes over here and gets on a flower and pollinates it. I'm pretty certain that the hot pepper's pollen will make this pepper a little bit spicy. But I don't know. I think that's how it works. I've heard that that can also happen with like melons, like total or cucumbers. Like you can get like a weird hybrid plant from cross-pollination. And there's not a whole lot you can really do with that. I mean, nature's cool and bugs like to pollinate. And I don't know, I just kind of let her happen. You want to see something crazy? I started these seeds over a month ago. They're still that small, but they're my favorite flower. Portulaca, honey. They're so cute. And they like, they're this like waxy, like falling over, like perfect, like basket flower. And they're drought tolerant. They're like, water, sure, I'll have a little drink. No biggie, okay? And I think, okay, hold on. I discovered through my husband's grandma that you can bring your geraniums inside in the winter. This is last year's plant. Brought it inside in the winter. Didn't really touch it. Occasionally watered it when I felt like it looked a little thirsty, and it's doing fine. So the portulaca, I feel like I'm going to be able to do that. And the next year I won't have this freaking problem. They're so hard. I cannot believe a couple years ago I had a few that grew into plants, and then I didn't bring them inside. So they're so small, okay? But then it's like all of a sudden they'll just, boom, take off. Now, that is way too many in each of those. But I'm like, are they going to die? Like, I'm not going to get rid of all of them. You know, I've already got rid of some. I want them to live so bad. My first set of marigolds died. These are some other marigolds that I've got started here. I planted these less than a month ago. And one thing about marigolds, sweetie, is apparently some of the varieties can get like this big. I mean, they're humongous. And you plant them in there with your tomatoes thinking like, you guys will do a little help. And they're like, oh, honey, we're going to take over this garden. So you got to be careful which marigolds you get because some of them can be just ginormous bushes. I love marigolds. So marigolds, they help with pests because pests don't like them. So they kind of keep them at bay. Do they keep everything at bay? Heck no. Do they help? I think so. And I don't know. There's just something about marigolds. It's like time and true and historic. And my grandma had them. And I just feel like they're a necessary part of the garden, sweetie. This is my second round of calendula. It looks like it looks awful. I'm sorry, girls, I let you down. I don't know what happened. I didn't feel like they were that picky, but I guess they are. I've got two in here that I feel like might make it, but I'm not certain. Calendula is a medicinal flower. It's called the healing flower, and I am hoping to make a little balm with it, or like a salve or whatever. These are a cardinal flower vine. It's like a little dainty vine with little bitty dainty red flowers. It was really cute in the garden last year. I really liked it, so I'm going to have it again in this garden. They're not doing the best because... Actually, you want to know why they're not doing the best? They're not doing the best because... Again, I don't like the big trays, which is what I was talking about the last time, because you get uneven watering and such. So, I mean, I still have some that look good, but I don't like the trays. I like those little guys. This video is 24 minutes. If anyone is still watching, will you just like drop a little, hey girl, love you. Okay, so I was just talking about this guy. Well, I also started quite a few more because they're pretty hardy, and I like them, and I grew up with geraniums, and the fact that I can bring them inside and don't have to do it again next year is awesome. Plus, you can give them as gifts because they do pretty decent in a pot. Okay, I've got Tithonia, which is a Mexican sunflower, and the woman that I love, that I follow, it's her favorite, one of her favorite flowers, and it is beautiful. And listen, sweetheart, the Tithonia stem is the sweetest, greenest, most smoothest stem ever. Last year was the first year I grew it, and all my girlfriends, I was like, feel this stem, feel how sweet it's so soft. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's so sweet and soft. And anyway, it's beautiful, and it is a pollinator, attractor, honey. And there's these gorgeous, like orange flowers. They're beautiful. They do decent as a cut flower, but not great. But it is humongous and is just a gorgeous pop of color. I have more tomatoes that I need to up pot. Brandywine. Oh, I've got a black cherry tomato that I've never had. We'll see about that. And then the tomato mortgage lifter. So, oh, look, I put here that I planted 10 seeds, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that germinated. Oh, a 9th one germinated, but it didn't make it, I think. That's cool. I can't find the other one, or the thing I was going to show you. It might still be inside. But I also started some moonflower. And moonflower is a beautiful vine. It gets really big. It has really pretty green foliage, and like they have these green heart-shaped leaves. And then at night, the white flowers that they produce open up, and they can be like this big. And they are this like waxy looking silky flower. They're beautiful, but they're toxic when eaten. A lot of things are toxic when eaten that are growing out here, and some people won't plant them because of the dogs and all that. My dogs have never bothered it. There's so many things out here that can harm them. And like, I follow this other lady called the Chicken Chick, and she's, you know, talks about like planting other things that could be harmful for birds and stuff. And it's almost just like they know and they don't mess with it. So I've never had a problem with it. I love the vine. And like I said, there are so many other things out here that are harmful or toxic that we don't even know about, that we are amongst all day long. I have some other seeds that I started inside, some petunias, some snapdragons, other things that are not out here. But this video is getting to be a half hour almost, sweetie. So I'm going to cut this off. And I hope that you enjoyed the video or learned something or just liked hanging out with me for a little bit. I hope you have a great day.